Welcome back to County Cricket Weekly with myself, Regina Suddahazai, and Aatif Nawaz. Aatif, it's lovely to have you here. How are you doing today and how have you made it the week?
I am very, very well. It's been great to have some red ball cricket back. It's nice to sort of take over the studio as well because Jack and Toby, I think they're watching some T20 cricket across the Atlantic. I don't know, apparently there's a tournament going on other than the championship. I thought maybe it was the Blast, but they've gone the other way. I don't know. But it's been great. It's been really nice. Red ball cricket. It's back and enjoying every bit of it.
Yeah, it's brilliant to see you here. And there's been quite a lot of runs this week. I think we've seen a big show of sixes, but also it's been a good week for the batters. What do you make of this?
It's been really good. I think, we'll talk about some specific performances, but for what struck me the most, Regina, is the fact that loads of batters got to the nervous 90 thing is this is serious. A lot of batters between 90 and 100 were getting shaky, and we'll go through that. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if this is something we're going to see more and more of, or if people are really anxious about that first class century, getting that on their cricket info page. Let's be honest. There's something about that. We'll have to get into that.
Right, let's get into the action. The first game we're going to have a look at is Sussex versus Leicestershire down at the First Central County Ground in Hove. Unbeaten Leicestershire made their way south to face Division 2 table toppers Sussex. The visitors won the toss and decided to make use of some early morning overcast conditions. The decision was vindicated with 3 early wickets from Ian Holland that left the hosts reeling at 34 for 3. This brought Sussex captain John Simpson to the crease with Ollie Carter, and the duo set about rebuilding the hosts' innings. After a cautious start, Carter and Simpson started to bat freely, capitalising on some loose bowling and striking the ball all around the ground. Carter fell agonisingly 4 runs short of a second first-class century of his career. The partnership with his captain had reached 150 by this point though. Simpson clearly loves batting against Leicestershire as he made his career best 205 not out in the return fixture this season. And he wasn't to be beaten by the Foxes bowlers yet again as he finished the innings 183 not out. Returning overseas player Nathan McAndrew hit a handy 53 in partnership with Simpson to lift Sussex to 442 all out.
Holland didn't have as much success opening the batting as he did the bowling. The all-rounder edged Ollie Robinson behind in the third over of the reply. 3 more quickly fell for the visitors, including an absolute peach from McAndrew to dismiss Lewis Hill, leaving the Foxes 51 for 4. These wickets brought overseas players Peter Hanscom and Vian Mulder together at the crease, and the pair batted hard to bring the side back into the contest. A 108-run stand followed, before Mulder was smartly caught at slip of Finn Hudson-Prentice for 53. Hanscom would make it to 92 before he too was caught in the slips. The visitors lost their last 4 wickets, all to the bowling of Sean Hunt for just 22 runs to be bowled out for 275, 67 runs short of the follow-on target.
The hosts elected not to enforce the follow-on, hoping to rack up a big target for the Foxes to chase. Hunt was in on the action again, this time as night watchman, as Carter and Jack Carson were both dismissed before stumps on day 2. Hunt saw out the rest of the day before moving into run-scoring mode. The seamer smashed 4 big sixes on his way to a first-class best of 65. Tom Alsop and James Coles continued to bat positively in the hope of giving their side enough time to take the 10 wickets needed to win the game. Alsop deposited 3 big sixes to finish 81 not out and bring a declaration for the Sussex dressing room on 296, setting Leicestershire 464 to win in the process.
The away side got the chase off to a solid start, registering 50 partnerships for the first 2 wickets. The spin of Coles and Carson began to become more of a factor in this game. 6 wickets for 75 put Sussex on the verge of making it 4 wins for the season. What was to come on the morning of day 4 was truly remarkable. Batting at 8, Louis Kimber stunned the Sussex bowlers with an assault like we've never seen in the championship. Freed up by the unlikely thought of victory, Kimber proceeded to launch 6 after 6 into the Hove stands. Coles and Carson were both slog-swept out of the attack, and Robinson was demolished for a championship record 43 off 1 over. Kimber's 100 came up off 63 balls, and 37 balls later he was celebrating the fastest double 100 in county championship history. The right-hander in partnership with Ben Cox looked to be winning the game for his side as record after record tumbled. At lunch, Leicestershire were just 89 runs away from the most unlikely of victories. The Sussex bowlers were much improved after the break, managing to claim 2 vital wickets to go 1 wicket away from the win. Kimber was undeterred until he finally succumbed to Nathan McAndrew 18 runs short of the target, dragging a slow ball onto his stumps for 243 off just 127 balls. Relief for Sussex and a heartbreaking end to one of the most memorable innings in county championship history. Take a bow, Louis Kimber.
So, what a game. Louis Kimber, 243, fastest double century in the championship, 21 sixes. Aatif, what do you make of this?
It was phenomenal, wasn't it? I mean, it's the kind of breakthrough innings that players dream of as well. He's still a young man, Louis Kimber. He's, 27 years old. This is the kind of innings where people are going to start talking about him and thinking about where he might fit in beyond, the county championship. It's heartbreaking, really, because he couldn't quite get over. What you really want is that Ben Stokes style over the line, and he fell painfully short. I don't know, though. I think just the way that he did his thing, obviously tearing apart Ollie Robinson amongst other bowlers, it was just, it really was quite a remarkable innings and one that people will remember. People have scored more runs than that before. It's not that the biggest innings of the season, but it might be the most memorable.
So, as you can tell, John Simpson loves batting against Leicestershire.
Yeah, I mean, it breaks my heart, really, because he was at Middlesex for many years, and, we really... I don't know if you ever got the best out of John Simpson, because literally, as he decides to move on, he's getting picked for England. He's scoring hundreds after 100, and I mean, it was outstanding. He never really looked like getting out in this innings as well, which is a sign of a batter in the best of form. I think he'll be somewhat relieved that they got over the line as well, because again, when you get 100 in a losing cause, it's worth a lot less. So I think he'll be really pleased, and his personal form is outstanding. I'm sure he'll be keeping an eye on the top end of those top run scorers. He's got Ryan Higgins in his sights, I reckon. Yeah,
and I think it's 392 not out this season, I think we've seen, against Leicestershire himself. So,
yeah.
It's pretty good record.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? I mean, it's no fun for Leicestershire, I suppose. No. They don't like him when he turns up at Grace Road and he's just kind of, hey guys, and they just, this guy, he's not getting a second. When he goes for catering, he's not getting a second bread roll with his soup, I can tell you that much. But no, it's really, it's fantastic. And it just happens sometimes in cricket. Certain players, they might not be the best player in the game, but they just have some kind of, they come across some kind of rhythm, or they get into a rhythm against a team, and I think he's enjoying that. I think he's already looking forward to playing them again next season, maybe in the Royal London One Day Cup or whenever. I think he'll want to play in the seconds match as well. Can I play second 11 against these guys as well? I think he's loving them right now.
And obviously the moment that most people are talking about, Ollie Robinson, 43 runs and 1 over. I mean, what is there to say about this?
Well, it's a tale of two Ollie Robinsons this week, really, because if you Google the wrong one, you're going to get, depending on which Ollie Robinson that comes up in your Google search, you're going to get two. You can either get the guy who got 198 runs for his team, or you can get the guy who's gone for more runs in 1 over than any other first-class over ever before, at least in the county championship. 43. You dream of 36. As a batter, you dream of her. Nobody's dreaming about 43. No one's even considering the possibility of 43, because you'd have to hit 7 sixes and take a single, and there has to be a no ball and everything. And what's mad is the record was just broken the day before. So Shoaib Bashir went for 38 the day before, and you're already thinking oh god, tough week. And then his England teammate, teammate. Can we call them teammates? I think we can call them teammates. His England teammate the following day says, "No, hang on, mate. No, I will not let you have this alone. Yeah. I will take that record off you." I mean, it's not a record anybody wants. I think, to be fair, he did bowl better either side of that over. Definitely. But that's what people are going to remember, I'm afraid, Ollie. Sorry.
Next up, Worcestershire versus Surrey.
Stand-in Worcestershire captain Jake Libby won the toss and elected to bowl first against an informed Surrey side. He would have been very happy with his decision when the debutants Tom Taylor and Shoaib Bashir combined to remove Rory Burns for a duck with the third ball of the morning. Surrey's powerful batting lineup made sure this was just a small bump in the road. Dom Sibley and Jamie Smith added 159 for the third wicket, the pair making 76 and 86 respectively. The host struck twice in the space of 5 overs to remove Sibley and Smith and offer them a glimpse of hope of bowling Surrey out for a below-par total. Any such ambitions were quickly dashed by the England international pair of Ben Foakes and Dan Lawrence, striking 131 runs for the fifth wicket. While Foakes fell for 52 to a sharp low catch from Adam Hose, Lawrence was in no such forgiving mood. The all-rounder blasted 22 boundaries, including a 38-run over off the bowling of Shoaib Bashir on his way to a career-best 175. He was caught on the deep point boundary after one big shot too many to end the Surrey innings, a commanding 490 all-out.
The hosts struggled, continued into the second innings. Worcestershire's top order made a hard work of the early phases of play, and they soon found themselves scrambling at 102 for 7. A half-century from the skipper Libby guided them to a close on day 2 without losing any further wickets. Libby was soon making his way back to the pavilion the next morning, edging a Gus Atkinson delivery behind for 71. Any hopes of Worcestershire getting parity with Surrey's first innings score went with this wicket, and the hosts were ultimately bowled out for 212 and asked to enforce the follow-on immediately.
The pair's top order put up a better fist of things the second time around. Gareth Roderick and Kashif Ali both made 60s in a 135-run second wicket partnership. The rest of Worcestershire's resistance was minimal and no match for Surrey's bowlers. Adam Hose did make 64, however, before he was bowled by Jordan Clark, bringing up his 5-wicket haul and a win in the process. Can anyone stop Surrey from their 3rd consecutive title? Please.
Worcestershire versus Surrey. Another Surrey win. Safe to say it was the Dan Lawrence show.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? I mean, that's what his highest first class score, 175. Gets himself some wickets as well, 3 for 49 in the first innings. And interestingly, got to open the bowling in the second innings. I think it's fair to say he's enjoying life in South London, like in central London. He talked about it a lot when he was moving over from Essex. Like, I think, for a lot of people, Dan Lawrence is about as Essex as it gets. So for him to move to the middle of London, I know he was very excited about it. He's probably even more excited about it now, over the moon, enjoying life at the Oval, clearly.
And can we talk about that 38 run over by Shoaib Bashir? I mean, breaking the record, first of all, for most runs on an over, but then broken the next day, as we've talked about. But, I mean, making your debut for Worcestershire as well.
Yeah, I feel for him a little bit because, I mean, it's been one of those things. It's obviously going to be circulated widely when that happens. And, of course, at that time, nobody knew what was going to happen to Ollie Robinson the next day. But, there was no getting away from it. So he pitches it up outside the off stump, bang, 6. Tries to get it a bit straighter, bang, 6. Tries to go wide down the leg side just to break out, but then the keeper misses and it goes for 5 wides. So it was just a nightmare sequence for Shoaib Bashir, and I really did feel for him a little bit watching everything unfold. But it's one of those things. I think you see it happen often when a batter's hit 4 6s in a row. The next 2 are likely to go just because they're in that rhythm, and as a bowler, you're under the most intense, obviously it's never happened to me, but you're under the most intense pressure. I've never played at that level, but it's just very hard to get away from at that point, and he kind of fell into that trap. But again, not unlike Ollie Robinson, I thought he bowled better after the fact, I think.
Let's watch the relegation battle of Kent versus Lancashire. Relegation candidates Kent and Lancashire met at Canterbury in what already looked like a crucial match to both sides' ambitions to remain as Division 1 counties for the next season. The visitors won the toss and elected to bowl first, and they were rewarded with the wickets of Marcus O'Riordan and Daniel Bell Drummond before lunch. Only Ben Compton and Twanda Moyeye could muster any sort of prolonged resistance for the hosts, with both batters passing 50. They were unable to stop the rot from the other end, and Moyeye was the last man to go for 59. Kent bowled out for 244. George Balderson and Nathan Lyon both finished with 3 wickets apiece for Lancashire.
The hosts got their bowling innings off to the ideal start, with Bears Swanepoel cartwheeling Keaton Jennings off stump without scoring. Unfortunately, this was about as good as it got for Kent. Luke Wells and Josh Bohannon made the most of their beautiful batting conditions at Canterbury, both passing 3 figures and taking Lancashire past the Kent lead before tea on day 2. The partnership carried on after the break and wasn't broken until Wells edged to slip off O'Riordan for 150. It had been a slow start to the season for Bohannon up until this point, but he reminded everyone of his test match credentials with this knock. The Lancastrian brought up his double 100 off 367 balls, but he was soon making his way back to the changing room, falling LBW to former teammate Matt Parkinson. Lower order contributions from Matthew Hurst and Balderson pushed the visitors to 549 for 9 when they called time on the innings.
Kent have had a tough season so far, and it wasn't about to get any easier when O'Riordan edged to George Bell at first slip for just 4. Wickets continued to tumble in the evening session, with the hosts closing at 152 for 6 and in need of a final day miracle. That miracle was not forthcoming. 64 from Aussie Charlie Stobbo offered some resistance. However, Kent could only survive 30 more overs on day 4 before their defeat was confirmed. A huge win for Lancashire that lifts them out of the relegation zone and 25 points clear of Kent. Big win for Lancashire. Very upsetting loss for Kent. How good was Bohannon and Wells, though?
Yeah, they were fantastic, the pair of them. I mean, like Josh Bohannon, England Lions captain, like just a terrific player. Again, just reminding everybody, just keeping himself in the mix for that England. There's a lot of players who get talked about for England, but you have to keep performing and just keep your name in that hat. And it'd been a while since he put in a performance like that. From Bohannon, a double 100 is always great. 205 is a very sentimental number for England as well, so they'll like that. And then Luke Wells was outstanding as well, just 150 alongside him, and then with the ball, just offering that value. 2 for 9 in the first innings, 2 for 38 in the second. I mean, that's just the dream match, right?
Yeah.
Score some runs, get yourself a couple of wickets. Both of them outstanding.
Yeah, safe to say Luke Wells, unlucky not to be man of the match, I think, of this game.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, really, because, you're right. I mean, the double 100 guy gets it. But what about the bowling? What about the all-round contribution to winning the game? What about putting Kent? And Kent are in serious trouble,
They're really struggling.
62 points.
Yeah.
Not a lot of games to go. I don't know. I think at this point, Lancashire sort of going down was almost inconceivable at the start of the season, but they found themselves in that tricky position. Maybe they got a little bit unlucky with conditions and the ball experiment, all that kind of stuff. But now they've created a nice gap between themselves and Kent. Kent are in serious trouble. They're really staring down the barrel. I can't see a way. I'm very sorry, Kent fans. I can't see a way back for them in this season.
Next up, let's have a look at Yorkshire versus Gloucestershire.
Yorkshire welcomed Gloucestershire to the beautiful Scarborough, looking to claim their first championship win of the season. The hosts started well and found themselves in an ominous position of 106 for no loss at lunch. Gloucestershire captain Graham Van Buren may not have been too popular with his teammates in the dressing room after winning the toss and electing to bowl first that morning. Finlay Bean and Adam Lyth continued on their merry way after the interval, with both batters bringing up their centuries during the afternoon session. The mammoth opening partnership was finally ended on 307 by Van Buren himself, Bean cutting a wide delivery straight to point to go for 164. 4 overs later, and Lyth was making his way back to the pavilion too for 129, bowled by Ajit Singh Dale. At 322 for 2, the hosts would have been hoping to make a sizable first innings score that would allow them to only bat once in this game. Unfortunately for them, Gloucestershire pegged back any of these ambitions. Only 2 more Yorkshire players would pass 20 as they were bowled out for 456.
The home side quickly put any frustrations behind them with a brilliant performance in the field. 128 for 2 and a solid foundation from Ben Charlesworth and Ollie Price became 197 all out. Jordan Thompson and Matthew Revis took 3 wickets each as Gloucestershire lost 8 wickets for 69 runs.
With the visitors trailing by 259 runs and the follow-on enforced, Yorkshire continued to assert their dominance in this game. Charlesworth was bowled for a duck in the second over, and when Adam Lyth took his screamer at slip to remove James Bracey, the visitors were on the ropes at 73 for 4. Wickets continued to fall at regular intervals, and if it wasn't for some lower order hitting from Zaman Akhtar, then the margin of defeat could have been even wider. Dale was eventually caught behind to spark jubilant celebrations from the Yorkshire team. This marks a first win of the season for the hosts by an innings and 22 runs after a slow start to the campaign.
You can't win a game on day one, but I think it's safe to say, Aatif, that Yorkshire were pretty close to doing just that.
Yeah, you can't win a game on day one unless you score 307 runs for the first wicket after being put into bat by the opposition captain. That has to be the most dispiriting thing to happen to you after you make that choice. I mean, it's phenomenal, really. It's just really determined batting as well. It's worth remembering that Yorkshire have had a tough season. There's lots of stuff going on off the field as well as on the field, and like controversies and loads of things going on. They needed this win. They desperately needed this win to get their sort of season back on track. They're still a long way off the promotion places, but at the same time, they've created a gap between themselves and bottom place of Derby. There's a gap between them and Derbyshire. If Yorkshire had finished bottom of Division 2 this season, which I suppose they still could, but that's something they don't even want to think about. It was must win for them. They had to come in, put in a strong performance. They put their best foot forward on day one, and they reaped the benefits of that.
Moving on to Middlesex versus Derbyshire. Derbyshire made the journey to the capital to face Middlesex at the home of cricket. The visitors made a fast start to the game, Zach Chappell taking the wicket for Sam Robson in the opening over of the day after being asked to bowl first. Mark Stoneman and Max Holden both made solid starts for the hosts, but the pair were dismissed either side of lunch to leave the home side 108 for 3. Lewis Deploy took up the reins and made a fluent 57, but he edged behind to Alex Thompson with a score at 171 for 4 to leave the innings in the balance. Wickets continued to flow at steady intervals for the hosts, and if it wasn't for the in-form Ryan Higgins, then the story of this innings could have been vastly different for Middlesex. The Zimbabwean-born all-rounder struck his 400 of the season to guide his side to 4 batting bonus points, and eventually being bowled out for 433. With this knock of 163, Higgins now leads the run scorers in Division 2 of the Vitality County Championship, with 800 runs for the season at a Bradman-esque average of 100.
Derbyshire's reply was led by Lewis Rees. The left-handed batter anchored the top order whilst wickets seemed to be falling all around him. Wayne Madsen offered Rees some resistance and the pair added 111 for the third wicket until Henry Brooks got one delivery to lift and brush Madsen's gloves. Rees marched on and was later raising his bat for his first century of the season. He was eventually dismissed for 125, igniting a collapse that would swing the game back towards the way of the hosts. 6 wickets for 22 runs followed. The Derbyshire lower order were powerless to resist a fine spell from Toby Rowland-Jones. The former England quick took 5 for 81 to bowl the visitors out for 339.
The third innings of a championship game can sometimes be the toughest one to bat in, and Middlesex would have had that in the back of their minds when Mark Stoneman edged behind to the first delivery of the innings from Zach Chappell. The hosts fought back though. Half centuries from Sam Robson, Deploy and Higgins put Middlesex into the driving seat at 200 for 4 and a lead of 300. 3 wickets from Alex Thompson pegged the hosts back to 302 all out, setting a victory target of 397.
The visitors would have been hoping to make a decent fist of this chase. However, the target would have looked a long way off when first innings centurion Rees was dismissed for just 5. A further collapse of 6 for 59 left their chances of saving the game, let alone winning, in tatters. Thompson and Chappell did offer some fight, making 41 and 50 respectively, but Derbyshire were ultimately bowled out for 202 to hand the hosts their third win of the season.
Safe to say, impressive win for Middlesex.
It was, wasn't it? And it's another one, really. They're racking them up now. They're starting to get into a good rhythm. And surprise, surprise, it's that man again, Ryan Higgins, starring for them. 163, 67 in the second innings. He can't stop scoring runs.
No, it's safe to say he's having a really good county championship season. 800 runs for the season, averaging 100. It's going pretty well for him. I would want to be in his shoes right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking good to finish top of the run scorers, not just for Div 2, but overall. It's amazing, really, because his position at Middlesex has always been a little bit insecure, but this season he's really stamped his authority in that middle order. He's useful with the ball as well. He's just a really valuable player now for Middlesex, and the kind of player that bowling attacks in the Champa was really starting to fear a little bit. They're aware of his form. They're aware of the runs he's getting. That's massive. And again, from a Middlesex perspective, having Toby Rowland-Jones getting the wickets, a 5-wicket haul for him as well. This is all valuable stuff. Up to second place in the table, touching distance between them and Sussex as well. So I think they're feeling good about their chances of coming back up.
Now let's have a look at Aatif's other team, Warwickshire versus Hampshire.
Chris Wokes made his long-awaited return to competitive action in this one, and he was immediately called into action when Hampshire winning the toss and electing to bat first. However, it was his new ball opening partner, Ollie Hannon-Dalby, that got the early breakthrough for the hosts, finding the outside edge of Toby Albert's bat. Warwickshire were made to wait for their second wicket of the day as Fletcher Middleton and Nick Gubbins added 102 runs before Gubbins edged behind for 44. Starts were the order of the day for Hampshire batters, with only one passing 50 out of the 6 players that scored 20. Middleton made 74, but no batter could make the sort of total to drive the visitors to an imposing first innings score. Vokes got his first wicket of the season, removing Kyle Abbott to wrap up the Hampshire innings for 298.
The Bears' response got off to a positive start at 48 without loss, until Abbott dismissed both openers in the space of 4 balls, including the smart return catch to get the dangerous Alex Davies late on day 1. The evergreen Keith Barker dismissed night watchman Danny Briggs early the next morning and didn't look back. The left armour, while briefly held up by 50s from Dan Mosley and Jacob Bethel, collected the next 5 wickets to fall, leaving him with figures of 6 for 74. It was left to Abbott and Mohammad Abbas to wrap up the Warwickshire innings for 254, a 44-run lead for the visitors.
Hampshire's start to the second innings followed a remarkably similar pattern to their first, with Albert edged behind for a single figure and another 50 from Middleton helping the visitors to 88 for 2 at stumps on day 2. 3 more wickets fell the next morning, bringing the experienced Hampshire duo of James Vince and Liam Dawson to the crease, their side precariously placed at 184 for 5 and a lead of 224. The pair quickly removed any fears from the mind of Hampshire supporters with a 255-run 6th wicket stand. The partnership came in just over 50 overs, with Dawson making 120 and Vince closing the innings on 166 not out, the 29th 100 of his illustrious career so far. Hampshire declaring on 453 for 6 and setting Warwickshire a whopping 498 to win this game.
Abbott picked up where he left off in the first innings, removing Davies for just 16. The Warwickshire innings continued to falter. 4 wickets followed in the morning session to leave them 116 for 5 at lunch, and difficult position to save this game. But save the game, they did. A fighting century from Sam Hain and a 79 from Michael Burgess helped steer the visitors to safety. Hampshire were given some late hope when Burgess was dismissed, sparking a couple more wickets to leave the visitors 9 down. However, final man Ollie Hannon-Dalby saw out 11 balls to earn the draw, Hain finishing 1-1-1 not out at the other end. Safe to say, a rather exciting finish. Hannon-Dalby blocking out those last 11 balls.
It was very exciting, wasn't it? I mean, this is the kind of thing that OHD lives for. He just likes to get in there and just he can do that. He's the blocking guy, right? He's the long fellow. That's what they call him. It was really exciting. I think, Warwickshire will be pleased to get away from that game with a draw. There were some nice performances from them. All the people you sort of expect. I thought Sam Hain played a breathtaking innings, that 111. All the guile, all the nous, everything you sort of expect from what's become a sort of cult player in Warwickshire in Sam Hain. Like, he had a difficult winter away and, a stop-start to the season. But I think this is the innings that's going to give him confidence. Very, very good recovery from Warwickshire, because in truth, Hampshire bossed that game.
Yeah, 498 I think was probably too much for Warwickshire. James Vince 166, such a player of class and elegance, and Liam Dawson 120. I mean, yeah, they were on top for pretty much the whole game. But I think it was a good fight back with Warwickshire, and yeah, they'll be happy with that result.
It was, and probably worth mentioning, Keith Barker 6 for 74, yes, which I think is the best figures of the week, right, of this game week. It's it's great effort. It's a really strong effort, particularly that wicket at the Rose Bowl. It's not always the easiest. I think he'll be very pleased with that. And again, it's gonna nip at them sometimes when you're on top of a game for that long, and you don't close it out and you miss out by 1 wicket.
Yeah.
It is just when it's just tantalizingly just there, and it goes it's just the worst feeling ever. You feel like if you're a completionist, it's like if you were doing a Jack in the Box. And that's where they're stuck. Yeah. That's where Hampshire are stuck all week. They're not going to get the dun 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 dun. Yeah. That's just for the completionists out there. Yeah, I think that they're desperate to play the next game. I think they're back in action on Sunday. I think so. In that case, they'll be keen to I think they'll come back quite strong. Actually, I think they've got an itch to scratch.
Yeah, very deserving. And I mean, on to a game with another exciting finish. Glamorgan versus Northamptonshire. Let's have a look now. Glamorgan faced a Northants side welcoming Indian international Prithvi Shaw back into their 11 in what promised to be an evenly fought contest. The visitors won the toss and elected to bat first on a green-looking surface. Ricardo Vasconcelos and Shaw were making their way back to the changing rooms early, both falling to the bowling of James Harris for single-figure scores. Northants' form pair this season of Emilio Gay and Luke Proctor steadied the ship with a 90-run third-wicket stand, but neither could make the big score necessary to arrest their side's fading fortunes. Wickets fell consistently throughout the innings, with no batter making more than Gay's 65. And the visitors were eventually bowled out for a below-par 279. 3 wickets apiece for Harris, Tim van der Gooten and Andy Gorvin.
Openers Eddie Byram and Will Root added 50 for the first wicket before Byram edged behind to bring Marnus Lambashane to the crease. The Australian international looked to be in ominous form, bringing up 50 off 64 balls with a series of beautifully timed strokes. Lambashane, in partnership with Kieran Carlson, added 140 for the third wicket before he was given LBW of Justin Broad for 93. The Glamorgan batters did not let this setback deter them. Further half-centuries from Carlson, Chris Cook and Mason Crane pushed them up to 490 all out and a dominating lead of 211.
With their backs to the wall, Northants produced one of, if not, their best batting displays of the season so far. Vasconcelos led the charge with a typically punchy innings before he missed one turning delivery from Crane on 99. He wasn't the only Northants batter to fall just short of 100. Skipper Proctor played nicely again before he was on his way back to the pavilion for 98, with his side now 161 runs in the lead. One Northants batter did make it through the nervous 90s, and in some style. Lewis McManus struck 7 sixes in a career-best 168 not out, including a massive slog sweep over deep mid-wicket to bring up his century. His knock, as well as those of Vasconcelos and Proctor, set up an intriguing chase of 262 for the hosts, with just over a session of action left to play.
The Glamorgan batters put their foots down to the floor in an attempt to chase down the target. Lambashane added a second 50 for the game, however the host's positive mindset brought Northants back into the contest. Wickets fell consistently as the Glamorgan batters attempted to chase down the target. The hosts were eventually blocking out for a draw as they found themselves 8 down and 55 runs short off the target. Match drawn.
Another game that, safe to say, it came to quite an exciting finish, and probably most batsmen actually succumbing to the nervous 90s, if you will, in both innings, for both the Glamorgan and Northants.
Yeah, it's bizarre, really. I don't know what happened in this game, because it was like Vasconcelos got 99, Proctor got 98, and then Marnus as well, he got 93. And then sort of 64 next innings, which is a different kind of failure. It's an outstanding innings. But yeah, I mean, it was just, maybe they got a bit circumspect. I don't know. Maybe it's that old school, like, I just want to inch my way there. They should have done what Lewis McManus did.
Yeah, slug sweep.
That's it.
6,
Do it in style, mate. Don't back down now. Don't start pushing it around. Bang, out the ground. That's what you want.
Yeah, and get your career best. Over now to Chelmsford, Essex versus Durham.
Second placed Essex welcomed Durham, looking for a win to keep the pressure on table toppers Surrey. The visitors won the toss and elected to bat first in what looked favourable conditions. Alex Lees and Michael Jones, fresh from his T20 World Cup exploits, got Durham off to a strong start until Jones was dismissed by new Essex signing Ethan Bosch for 31. Lees was not perturbed and joined David Bedingham at the crease. The pair pushed the score past 150. Simon Harmer claimed the big wicket of his compatriot Bedingham for 65, 35 runs short of a 5th consecutive championship 100. Ollie Robinson picked up where Bedingham left off, combining with Lees to smash the ball to all parts of the ground, and Lees was raising his bat moments later for his second championship 100 of the season. Matt Critchley managed to break the partnership, trapping Lees LBW for 113. Robinson continued on pace and was soon celebrating his own century, coming off just 116 balls. The former Kent wicketkeeper's run-scoring exploits this season have seen many calling for a selection in the England Test team, and, aided by 73 from Colin Ackerman, Robinson was finally out 2 runs short of a maiden first-class double century. The Durham innings was finished just 12 overs later, all out for a massive 587.
The daunting task of hauling in the Durham lead did not start well for the hosts when Nick Brown edged behind off Matty Potts for 18. Essex top 4 all managed to establish themselves at the crease, but none were able to pass 40. It was left to the all-rounders Critchley and Paul Walter to pick up the pieces. The pair added 147 runs for the 5th wicket before Critchley mistimed a lofted drive to Lees at mid-off to go for 53. Walter pushed on and was later raising his bat for his first championship century of the summer. He didn't receive much support from his lower order colleagues, and after he was bowled by Matty Potts for 134, the hosts went on to lose their final 3 wickets for just 29 runs, finishing 339 all out and 248 runs behind Durham's first innings.
Essex had not been at the races for most of this game, and it wasn't until the 3rd innings that they showed why they're a force to be reckoned with in the division. Jamie Porter struck with his first ball of the innings, snicking off Lees for the first of 3 wickets in this innings. The visitors were caught between some strong Essex bowling and playing aggressively to advance their lead as quickly as possible. Simon Harmer made the most of this, taking 4 wickets. The hosts will have been happy with their fight back in the innings, and Durham eventually declared on 184 for 8, setting Essex 433 to win.
It was a less than ideal start for the home side, as night watchman Jamie Porter was required to see out proceedings late on day 3 after Brown fell early to Potts. Porter saw out the last ball of the evening before being bowled by Potts the following morning. This brought Tom Westley to the crease to join Dean Elgar. The duo batted unscathed for the rest of the day to see their side home to the draw. 165 was added for the 3rd wicket, however runs were irrelevant with Essex trying to save the game. Elgar did bring up his 50th first-class century, but more importantly, the pair faced a whopping 461 balls between. The draw keeps Essex within striking distance of top place Surrey, who they face next week. A game filled with runs, a lot of runs, but let's talk about the bowling for a second. I know that you were quite impressed with a couple of the bowlers.
I was, because as you say, runs, there's like 1,200 plus runs in the game, and yet there's a couple of really impressive bowling returns in there. Simon Harmer, I thought was fantastic, 4 for 75, from Essex, and he's been great for years and years and years, like very, very consistent, and like that's the telltale sign, I think, of good bowlers, where even when the opposition is scoring like 587 or 184 for 8 as they did in the second innings. Okay, they were going after him. He still managed to pick up some wickets in that game, so that's very impressive. And then also Matthew Potts, his figures don't really do him justice, I think, because he got 4 for 71. This is Essex responding to 587, and he's really just nagging on a line and a length, and I think half the runs came behind the wicket. Like, it's very hard to drive this guy. I'd love to see him be bowling in the West Indies.
Yeah.
I think Potts would be phenomenal. It's just a little reminder, because the Test team's getting picked next week. Yeah, it's not a bad time to take some wickets.
Yeah. Well, also not a bad time to score some runs.
Yeah.
Ollie Robinson falling just short of a double 100, but 198. Having a really good season with the bat, I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, he's fantastic, isn't he? He's having a phenomenal run. I'm sure there's people talking about him for England selection as well. I think he's probably not quite there, but hey, if you keep doing that, people are going to keep pushing for you. Just really, really brilliant batting, but also, the other fellas with the centuries. Paul Walter, great. There's his second first-class 100 ever. I feel like I see Paul Walter all the time now. Like, he's always playing somewhere for someone. But it's just, he got his second 100, and I remember looking it up at the time and being quite surprised that it was just his second one in first-class cricket. But that was wonderful. 124 great runs. Then Dean Elgar just doing Dean Elgar things on the last day, just frustrating the crap out of the opposition with the... what's a not cruel way of saying unattractive? Because that's what that 120 was. I'm sorry, Dean. I'm sorry. It wasn't a sexy 120. Is what I'm going to say.
The most aesthetic, if you will.
Well, I mean, I guess you could argue that it was aesthetic, but this has been the week of Bazball.
Yeah.
Like, it's been the week of attacking batting, runs, aggressive. I'm thinking about who hit a 6 to get to his 100? Lewis McManus, right? Like, that's the swagger I'm looking for, and this was like a swaggerless 120 for me. Yeah. But also, that's just me being a bit silly. It was a great knock. It secured the draw. It didn't, he played the situation, and that's very, very valuable. And, that's, again, from a South African perspective, that's really good signs ahead of what will be a busy season for them.
And it sets up a massive game against Surrey for then the next round.
Yeah, top two.
Yeah.
Surrey, Essex, top two going head to head at the Oval this Sunday. It's very exciting.
Yes.
Red Bull Festival at Surrey. It's supposed to be quite fun. See you there, maybe. It'd be a great game, and Essex are right on their heels.
Yeah.
One way of looking at this game is they had the opportunity to go past Surrey, but the other way to look at it is they didn't fall too far behind.
No.
They lose this game, then they're in the dust, but they hold on to the points. 117 they've got. Surrey's 130 something. They're right there. This game is going to be big. If Essex win, probably they go top.
Yeah.
All to play for.
Our last game this week is Nottinghamshire versus Somerset. Nottinghamshire welcomed third place Somerset to Trent Bridge. Stand-in skipper Craig Overton lost the toss and his side were asked to bowl first. Leading from the front, Overton took the new ball and got his side off to the perfect start, removing Haseeb Hamid's off stump in the 9th over of play. 2 further wickets fell before lunch on day 1 before Joe Clark and Jack Haynes combined at the crease for a 4th wicket stand of 108. The pair both raised their bats for half centuries before Notts then proceeded to lose 4 wickets in the space of 6 overs for just 11 runs to leave them precariously placed at 190 for 7. Casey Aldridge taking 3 of the wickets for the visitors. Enter Ollie Stone, the seamer, struck 13 boundaries on the way to his second 50 of the season, finishing on 83 and dragging the home side out of some potential first inning difficulties to 360 all out.
In reply, Somerset openers Andy Umeed and Tom Kohler-Cadmore were both undone by fine catches behind the wicket from Will Young and Tom Moore. This brought Tom Abel to the crease to join Tom Lammonby, and the pair set about putting away any wayward Notts bowling. When Lammonby was dismissed by Dane Patterson for 87, the duo had added 157 runs for the third wicket. Abel was not deterred and he was raising his bat for his first championship 100 of the season of 202 balls. Abel was finally removed for 111 LBW by Calvin Harrison with the score at 315 for 5. 4 more wickets fell for just 41 runs and Notts would have been hoping to restrict Somerset to a very minimal lead at this point. However, South African Miguel Pretorius dashed these ideas. The right-hander smashed 95 of 71 balls with 8 fours and 6 sixes to lift his side to 470 all out and a more than useful lead of 110 runs.
Notts have already fought back from a tricky position against Somerset this season, overhauling a 261 run lead in the reverse fixture. Skipper Hamid summoned the same fighting spirit in this one, combining with opening partner Ben Slater to add 172 runs for the first wicket. Hamid eventually succumbed to Overton for the second time in this game for 91 late on day 3. Ollie Stone came in as night watchman and continued to bat as freely as he did in the first innings. Combining with Slater, the England quick brought up his second 50 of the game before being trapped LBW by Jake Ball for 63. Slater was also in the runs, registering his first Vitality County Championship 100 of the season of 239 balls. Notts saved the draw with ease on an extremely flat pitch in truth. The players shook hands just before 5 o'clock, with the hosts 425 for 2 and Slater 168 not out. Another game with a lot of runs, flat wicket. But would you say it's safe to say Ollie Stone maybe not a night watchman?
No way. No, absolutely not. Just a couple of game weeks ago, got himself 90, came out looking assured, 83 this time around. The second innings batting at number 3. There's an element of night watchmanness in there, if I'm very honest with you, because obviously at that point the game is only going to go one which way. But still, batted beautifully, 63 gorgeous runs, just played himself quite nicely. It was a game where a lot of runs were scored. Ben Slater got himself 100. Tom Abel got himself 100. Haseeb Hamid fell short of 100, as has been the theme this week. And Miguel Pretorius, right? Bat and ball, gets himself 95 not out, a 4-wicket haul in the first innings as well. I mean, there were opportunities there for the bowlers, but if you were a batter who could spend more than 15 balls out there, you fancied yourself to get 100. I'm sorry, you fancied yourself to get 90 something.
Yeah, this week for sure, yeah. And this is actually the second time that Notts have frustrated Somerset batting out for the last day, batting out for the draw.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, they really batted them into the ground. 425 is what they ended up on. Slater is an excellent batter, but in those conditions, you'd back him to go further. Hasib Hamid, obviously terrific batter. I think the kind of the responsibility of being captain of that team has lifted his game a little bit. I think he's keen to make an impression. It will be immensely frustrating for Somerset. I think they're looking forward to just getting as far away from Nottingham as they possibly can.
Time to look at who player of the week is. Let's go with 1 point first. Who would you say is in the running? We've had quite a lot of batsmen, but
I think I know what I want for 3 points and for 2 points.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, I'm thinking about all the other batters that got runs, so many hundreds and so many 90s this week, right? So I can't split them. I know which one I want to go for, the big one, but I think I can't split all of these 190s and even a couple of the double hundreds. Some wonderful performances in there. So I think it really should be a bowler, and it should be a bowler who won a match for his team. So with the greatest respect to Keith Barker, I think it has to be Toby Rowland-Jones for 1 point, because his performance is 5-wicket haul, 5 for 81, directly contributed to Middlesex winning that game.
I'd agree. I think that's a fair point to make.
2 points?
2 points. I think it's safe to say Dan Lawrence, all-round showman for Surrey this week.
100%.
I think it's fair to say 175, 38 off and over, and a couple wickets here and there. Yeah, he deserves at least 2 points.
Without a doubt, and got to open the bowling as well.
Yes.
So, he had a wonderful game. I think, any other week, that's enough to be the best player of the week. But there was just one player who I think was significantly better, even though it wasn't in a winning cause.
Yeah, and I think most people will probably guess who that is for this week. Louis Kimber.
That's the one. It's significant. 243 of the best runs you'll watch. That counter-attack, the hitting was so breathtaking. Taking apart Ollie Robinson, nearly pulling off what would have been a staggering victory. It was sensational, and I think this is a trigger point in his career that's going to take him. I think he's on an upward trajectory. Like, something big is coming his way. For now, what we can give him is 3 points.
Yes. This is something he said he wanted to do as well. He wanted to be a threat, and he does.
I thought you were going to say, he said he wanted 3 points on the Cricket District County Cricket Weekly show.
You know what? Maybe he does.
Maybe he does.
Maybe he's going to say, hey,
well, listen,
5 at least.
Luke, you've done it, mate. You've done it. You got him, Kimber. 3 points are yours.
Well, that is it this week for County Cricket Weekly. I'm Regina Suddahazai, and this is Aatif Nawaz. Aatif?
Yeah? I think you've done great, by the way.
Oh, gosh.
I think Toby, just stay there, man. You don't need, listen, you're cool. Toby, Jack, if you guys want to start a fish and chip shop in the West Indies, we got this covered.
Oh,
you can chill, boyski. It's all good. Just go have fun out there.
Absolutely loving it. So make sure you smash the subscribe button, give us a little like, and check out more on the Cricket District Network.